Okay.
I mean, if you say something that's really inappropriate, we can cut it. But I believe in you.
Oh, I don't think I would say anything inappropriate.
Okay.
I hope not.
All right. We're good to go. Camera 1, camera 2. Let's get into it.
Okay.
All right. Welcome to Inside MNU Athletics, episode 10. It's been a few months since we've done these, so hopefully you haven't missed me too much. I am here with MNU men's basketball coach Rocky Lamar. Welcome, Rocky.
Hi, Chad. Good to be here.
So what year is this for you at MNU?
This is the 35th year.
Okay.
Lots of years.
And I just saw, I did the math, you're at 787 victories.
That is true. That is true.
So that's a huge amount. And there's a list of basketball coaches that are on like all-time wins.
Okay.
And do you know where you rank?
No.
Well, I don't either. I was hoping you did.
Well, I know that it's...
Go ahead.
I don't know exactly. I really don't know. I know that I'm in the, I would say, well, let's just say the top 35 probably of all time.
So that's amazing, right?
Well, it means you've had a lot of good kids.
Yes.
And you've had a lot of support from your administration. That's what it means.
So how did you come to MNU in the first place? You were a student here. So how did you learn of this place and why'd you come?
Okay. My father was a Nazarene pastor on the Iowa district. And he wanted me to come to Mid-America from the get-go. And I went to, instead I went to the University of Dubuque in Iowa because it was close to home, and thought I was madly in love with a girl in Maquoketa. Didn't want to get too far away from Maquoketa.
Okay.
And now I call it the University of Dubuque because it was
nice.
just not the right choice. And then literally in the summer, through prayers from my family and from everybody that they'd gotten to, honestly, I was still going to go back to Dubuque. And then in August, I just said, okay, that's it. I'm going to Mid-America. And came here then in the fall of 73 and met my wife, Jo, almost immediately when I got here, and married her a year later.
Oh, so
because I was no dummy. I said, I'm going to get that girl quickly.
Good choice, yeah.
Yes.
I forgot to talk about COVID. So before we get more into that, how has COVID been going for your team and everything? We're sitting here with a plastic divider between us. I don't know if you can see that on camera, but there it is. So even though we're not masked, we are being safe, so anyone who's watching. But how's it going for your team, and what do you think of this?
Well, first of all, it's an unbelievable season because we didn't think we'd get any games in.
Right.
And early on, we played without Pedro, and we played without Cameron Brady, and that's our two inside people. They both start inside. Now, it just so happened that we had one of them when we didn't have the other.
Right.
But the bad part about that was there were 4 league games played and we started off 0-4, which has made it very, very difficult for us.
Right.
And then, of course, we went to Peru, and there was an interesting non-call, and we ended up losing that game. And so we were 1-6 at one time in the league, and now we're 10-8.
Right.
And so with the COVID season, we're 13-8, and I'm thinking that's amazing, However, the way things are shaping up right now as we're visiting, if Baker and Evangel win out and we win out, we only have 1 league game left,
right,
then we would be out of the conference tournament, and that would be a crying shame.
Right.
But I'm hoping that we get in the tournament, and of course at 14-8, if we get in the tournament, there's also a chance, if Evangel happens to lose a game and Baker happens to lose a game, and then all of a sudden we might even be looking at getting a host bid of all things, because I think Benedictine and Park will make on their merit. They'll make the national tournament, and it's a mess in that regard.
Right. So COVID was really screwing up your season, basically.
It really did. And for these kids to go 13-8 after being 4-6, that's amazing. Sure. I'm awfully proud of them, and so.
All right, so that's how COVID's gone. We talked a little bit about how you came to MNU. So you played here for 3 years?
Yes, well, 2.5.
Okay.
Back then, I didn't realize, and Coach Hill, God rest his soul,
Ron Hill, a former coach and athletics director.
Yes, very, very, very dear person to me.
Hired me.
Yes, wonderful man.
Yeah.
Wonderful man. If he would have told me that, hey, you can sit out the whole year and play 3 complete years, I probably would have done it. But I didn't know that. And so I got eligible in January and played in January of my sophomore year and then my junior and senior year here.
Who were your biggest influences as an athlete? Like, who did you try to pattern your game after? Who did you look to like, I want to be like that guy? Or a teammate who influenced you in a certain way, that kind of thing?
Chad, that's a really tough question. I think most of my basketball would have to be to Coach Bill Fleming.
Okay.
Everything would have to be back to him.
Your high school coach?
Yes. And, of course, he coached with me in 2007.
Yes.
And several years there when we won the national title. But he taught me how to play. And now he learned, honestly, the stuff that he talks about is stuff that Coach John Wooden, he went to John Wooden's camp all the time. But still, the biggest influence in my life as far as basketball goes was Coach Fleming.
Okay.
And what was really weird is, growing up in a Nazarene pastor's home, I never had a television. So, and I'm not sure how many games you'd get to watch on TV anyway.
Right.
So I really didn't know, I just said, okay, this is the way you're supposed to play the game. Coach Fleming showed me this is the way you're supposed to play the game. That's the way I played the game.
Okay.
And so I don't know if that answers the question.
It does. Who was your biggest influence from a coaching standpoint? Not a coach who influenced you, but who influenced you on how to be the coach that you are?
Coach Fleming.
Right.
No doubt about it. As far as basketball goes.
Right.
I would say another big influence in my life would be a guy named Chuck Nunemaker. Chuck was my best friend in college, and he's still very, very dear to me. And I still talk with him. Now I talk with him some about, hey, this is what's going on, and I get his input a little bit, just because I think he's one of the most intelligent men I've ever been around.
Right.
And so
did he ever coach or
he never did
play or anything?
Well, in fact, I taught him how to play.
Okay.
And I don't know if he'd agree with me there 100%, but he may. But I just like his. He was a great businessman. And so I would use some of his ideas that he used in the business world as far as coaching. And the other thing, when I watched in 1991, when I watched Central Methodist run past us, we were really big. And we played them in 2 games, and they scored like 128 and 140, and I'm going, or something crazy numbers.
Right.
And I'm going, okay, I think the best way to play this game is to run. And so from that moment on, which would have been 1991, I was determined that my teams were going to run.
And that was Sherman coaching then?
Yeah, he was.
Okay, so
Coach Sherman, it was Jeff Sherman. He was coaching then, and I loved the way his team played then. And so I said, okay, we're going to run. And so every day in practice, if you come into our practices for the last 25 years, the kids will tell you, okay, this is what we do, 5-4-3, get them in Utah, and that's all running.
Right.
And so, and early on it takes 40 minutes. And by the end of the year, it takes about 8. So anyway.
Well, the Eagles of Central Methodist, they've been called the Running Eagles for a while as kind of a nickname. And you remember Brett Stillman, who did radio for us for a while.
Yeah.
He was the one who pointed out that a running eagle is an injured eagle. You don't want to be a running eagle. And if you are a running eagle, you're going to be dead soon. So he thought that was a really funny nickname. I always liked that. But you should be the soaring eagles or something.
Well, part of that, if you go to Central Methodist and you go into their field house there, if you look up on one of the walls, it talks about how they were the scoring champions of, I think it was 1990-91. And they averaged 101 points a game.
Yeah.
And so that's when they were going, choo, choo, choo.
Right.
And I said, okay, we can do that.
It's just an unfortunate mascot for a running team.
Yeah. I get it.
So how has coaching changed since you started in 86? Have you changed as how you relate to players, or it's been 35 years? How has the game evolved since then?
I was joking with Nate Lannis, my assistant, who, by the way, does an excellent job.
Mm-hmm.
I was joking with him the other day because we shoot a lot more threes than we've ever shot in the past.
Right.
And believe it or not, in 1992-93, I told him, I said, I was way ahead of my time. Because in 1992-93, I said, okay, we're going to run an offense and we're going to call it bombs away. And we had 4 great shooters on that team who could really, really, really shoot it. And
was that the Bill Elliott years?
Bill Elliott,
okay, I remember
Greg Evan was on that team. Todd Johnson was on that team. And who was, maybe that was not, maybe we only had 3 shooters. But those guys could all really, really, really shoot the ball. I mean, Greg hit 147 threes that year,
Right.
and Bill, of course, hit almost 500 in his career. And Todd was a great shooter. However, in the very first game we played, we're down 15 at half. And I go, bombs away, just went out the door. And we ended up winning the game. We came from behind and won the game. But and now, of course, we shoot the 3.
Right.
I mean, there's no doubt about it. But, of course, we got kids that can really shoot it.
But it's kind of how the game has changed, where every position can shoot the 3 now.
It really is. I mean, if you don't have a pick and pop big, you might be in trouble.
Right.
And it's so nice. Cameron can shoot it, and of course, nobody realizes Pedro shoots it really well.
He's had a couple that he's fired up, and it's been perfect.
Yeah, and so we have kids that can really shoot that. So I would say the game has changed there. The other way it's changed is they're trying to clean it up more. It's not near as physical as it used to be. I mean, when I watch, it just so happens that I'm putting all these games, on YouTube for us, and I don't watch them all, but I do watch parts of each one that I put up just for the fun of it. And it was very, very, very physical when I first came, and that's changed. You can't quite be that physical now, But anyway, so
when you watch The Last Dance, the Bulls,
oh my goodness,
thing, and then they show clips of the Pistons and the Celtics and the Lakers from the '80s. It is like like a war. They're smashing each other on their heads and faces, and it's like, and that's what I grew up watching, but I didn't realize how much that was until much later. Once it started to get a little less of that, and I don't know if that's for the better or not.
Well, to be honest, and of course, kids nowadays say, well, those guys couldn't even play in the NBA. Well, they could. I mean, they could have, but it was a war. Michael had to fight through.
Yeah.
I mean, he got beat up,
right?
Night in, night out, and you don't see that much, in the NBA now.
No.
And
well, you get kicked out of the game, and you get fined, and everything.
That's right, and they don't allow it. I mean, you could punch people back then and not get kicked out of the game. I mean, literally punch them.
I know, it's crazy.
Yeah.
What is your recruiting pitch, especially now that the game has changed? You've been here 35 years. It used to be, I mean, I don't know what your recruiting pitch is. How do you get people to come here?
Well, my recruiting pitch is you can go somewhere and play on a better basketball team. You could go to Duke. You could go to KU. You could go to. I'm not going to mention any in the NAI, of course.
Right.
But you could go there and have a better basketball career and probably be better coached because they have so many coaches. That.
I mean, are you recruiting against Duke and KU?
No. Well, okay. Or maybe I should say like Northwest Missouri State because Northwest Missouri State and us. I think Northwest Missouri State is a great program.
Okay.
And we've lost like 6 guys to them. We were second. But I tell them you can go someplace and have, probably have more opportunity and advances as far as basketball goes. You could go somewhere and maybe get a better education. You could go to Yale or Harvard or someplace like that,
right.
Or you could go somewhere and maybe the religious experience would be better for you. But I firmly believe at Mid-American Nazarene University, if you come here, and you're looking for a well-rounded education where you learn, first of all, that Jesus Christ is the most important person in your life, and you find him, and he finds you, and you can get a great education, and you can play on a great basketball team, then this is where you belong. That's my pitch.
So it's kind of, you're not trying to convince them necessarily. It's more like this is correct for you, you need to make the decision.
Yeah,
Basically, you put it on them.
Well, if I have to beg them to come here,
Right.
usually it doesn't work out.
Right.
And I'll tell them, say, hey, if I have to beg you, you're going to the wrong place. So.
Who is your favorite basketball coach? Like, are you a Bill Self guy, Roy Williams, Dean Smith, John Wooden, that kind of thing? Who's your like favorite old time basketball coach?
John Wooden.
Yeah, it's probably the right answer. If that's not the answer, that's probably just you're a bad coach.
Yeah,
it seems like
it's John Wooden. There is no doubt. And probably then next would be Krzyzewski, honestly. And of course, ahead of all of them is Bill Fleming.
Yeah. The personal connection would be different for sure.
Yeah.
What about other coaches from different sports? Do you have any guys that you look up to that you notice how they coach and you take some things or whatever?
From other sports, I really love the job, and I didn't follow him till he got to Kansas City. But Andy Reid is amazing. I think he does an amazing job here with the Chiefs. Believe it or not, I really liked Whitey Herzog.
Okay.
Back when he was coaching, he coached for the Royals and for the Cardinals.
I remember the Cardinals that beat my Cubbies throughout the 80s. Yeah, I remember Whitey Herzog.
Of course, that's natural. I mean, you played the Cubs. The Cardinals always beat the Cubs. But anyway, although honestly, Chad, I think it's like 50-50.
It's true. I don't know what to tell you.
I think it's 50-50, honestly, if you look at the overall. But
the titles are slightly in your favor.
Slightly that way. Then
all right, coach, whatever. Move on.
I'm just sitting here as far as NBA coaches go, another guy who I think's an amazing coach is Stevens from the Boston Celtics.
Brad Stevens. Yeah,
he does a great job.
We remember I was in Indiana for a while when he took Butler to the Final Four a couple times. So he was a big hero there.
Yeah.
I read that you were born in Indiana. I lived there for 8 years or so. Where were you born?
I was born in Evansville, Indiana.
Okay.
Born there in 1954. And, of course, my dad being a Nazarene pastor, we moved all around. And so we moved to Iowa in 1959, a little town called Wapello. And then back to Indiana 3 years later. And then back to Maquoketa, basically, when I was in 5th grade.
Okay. So what game, other than the national title, other than some Final Four victories, what is a game that really stands out as one of your favorites in your 35 years? Something maybe like a big comeback that wasn't expected, or maybe even a loss that you shouldn't even have been close in, or something. Is there something that jumps out?
Well, there's really two games and both of them were wins. Man, there's so many. When I said it, all of a sudden they just started flooding when you said that. But Heath Olson's shot against Graceland, which
what year was that?
That was 1990, 94, 95. I can't remember for sure the year there. But if we beat them, we win the league and we get the automatic bid to the national tournament. If they beat us, they win the league, and they get the automatic bid.
Wow.
And with 11 seconds to go, we're down 5. And they score every time they have the ball, and we score every time we have the ball, and we win. But in that stretch, we hit three threes.
In 11 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
And so and then they hit their free throws.
They hit 3 free throws. They missed one.
Wow.
So we hit 3 threes, which gives us 9, and they hit 3 free throws, which gives them 3, and we were down 5, so you can figure that out.
I can't, but I think you win that game.
We win. We win it by 1. And then at Our Lady of the Lake, we were down 10 with a minute to go, and we won that game. I think it went into overtime.
And when was that?
That would have been in 2013 or 14.
Oh, really? So that was my era.
Yeah.
This is at their place?
At their
early
place.
season.
Early season. Yeah.
Okay.
And then
I don't think I was paying attention to that one.
Okay. And then at Emporia in 99 or 2000 when we beat them by 26. That we were
cruising on all
rolling,
cylinders.
We're rolling.
Okay.
And then Benedictine a year ago here in the tournament. Because with a minute 9 to go, I'm pretty sure we were down 9.
Yeah.
And we ended up coming back and winning that game. But that's just off the top of my head. There are so many others,
Like last year at Evangel, that crazy finish.
Unbelievable finish there.
Bunch
Well,
of threes.
there were 4 game winners.
Yeah.
Literally 4 game winners in the last 20 seconds.
Right.
And Anthony's was the most important one. But
so you've been to nationals, 15, 17 times, something crazy. What stands out from those years that you made to that you went to nationals? Other than the title, we'll get to that next. But like, it was almost a given for a chunk there that you were going to nationals and you were going to go deep. So, talk about that. What's that like?
Well, first of all, you have to have really good people, really good players.
Right.
That helps, and they have to buy in. I mean, all those kids said, "Okay, we know we have to run." And like, if you would talk to them and say, "Okay, what's it like playing at Mid-America?" They'd say, "You run." And so we ran like crazy. Some of the interesting, we had such a great stretch there from 99 to 2009. I think we went every year, and during that stretch there were 5 Final Fours and a national title and a runner-up.
Yeah.
But it would have been in 2000, the 2005-06 year. In order to go, we had to have 10 teams win. There were 11 teams. 10 of 11 had to win for us to go. And if they don't win, and that was in the last night of in their conference tournaments.
Automatic bids versus
all that stuff.
at-larges and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
we would not have gotten an at-large.
Right.
Okay. And so, sure enough, 10 out of the 11 won. And so we get in.
You squeak in as a what? What was your seed there out of 32 teams?
Well, believe it or not, we weren't 32nd.
Right.
I mean, they were smart enough to know we weren't 30. We played the 6th ranked team. So if we played the 6th ranked team, that means we were seeded 27th.
Okay.
There's no seeds, of course, but you always go add 1 to the 32.
Right.
And lo and behold, that team finishes in the Final Four. And they were ready the next year. The next year they won it.
Yeah.
So that was kind of fun. And then, of course, that was 2009, and then Nick Sarai came on the scene, honestly, in 2011-12,
right.
And we make 4 trips to the tournament with him. You got to have a great point guard. You really
right.
do.
Yeah.
And, I mean, a year ago with Trey, you don't get to see it, of course, but they're going to get a banner. They qualified. And so, and this year, honestly, if Pedro and Cam would have been healthy the whole year, it would have been totally different. I think we'd be ranked. I honestly do.
I don't think you. Well, we'll go through the season here in a bit, but yeah, there are a couple losses there that probably wouldn't have been losses, and it flips that season.
It does. But that's the way it goes. I mean, that's life.
Right. Right. You have to be healthy. That's part of it.
Yeah.
So 2007 National Championship. That was the year before I arrived, but I actually was following that game because Coach Thompson, the baseball coach, had just come here. And so,
by the way, he is an amazing coach.
Right. He's
I
one
am
of the
so proud of that guy.
He's one of the coaches that I look up to as, if I were a coach, but I'm not. So whatever.
Oh, it's that, I'll be honest with you. I look up to Coach Thompson. So just so you know.
I don't doubt that. Yeah. Even though he's, way younger and he was starting when you were already in your title year.
I'm not afraid to learn from ever. See, that's the other thing. I think if you're going to be in this business long,
right,
you can't be, this is the way it's going to be done, period, or else. Because
right.
if you are, then you are gone.
And the game can pass you by.
Yes, yeah.
So I was following Coach Thompson. He's my college roommate, and we were in each other's weddings and all this stuff. College teammate in baseball. So I see that he's gone to Mid-America Nazarene to be the head baseball coach, and I see that the basketball team is in the national tournament. So I'm clicking through, and I'm looking at the live stats, and I'm like, I think this team, this Mid-America Nazarene, I'd never heard of it, really. I think they're going to win the national championship. That's kind of cool. I had come from Bethel, Indiana, who in the 90s when I was there went title. Well, they went.
They might have gone title.
Miss, title.
Yeah.
Then runner-up in a 5-year
yeah.
stretch.
Yeah.
And that's when I was there, so I was used to all this stuff. And just took it for granted that the teams that I'm associated with are winning titles. But it's not that easy, as it turns out. So in 2007, I was following that game, and I saw it was down 11-0, and it was like, oh, that would be a disaster to lose against a team like that, because Mayville had kind of come out of nowhere, right?
That's right. That's
And
right.
so
But they were really good.
right, obviously. So I mean, go ahead and talk about that season in that game.
Well, 06-07 was a very, very special year. I mean, those guys, I think the average margin of victory was around 20. You know, they were really good. And the thing they did very well, which my teams I wish they'd do a better job of, is defend. Of course, we had a Quinn back there who he'd erase any mistakes we had, which made it really nice. And Danny Hawkins, in my opinion, probably the best player that ever played at Mid-America. And he came on a football visit is how we got him.
Right.
But he was amazing. And Cal Kibbers at 6'9", you know, to be he could play the point if we had
you don't see guys that size who move like that at this level.
No,
ever.
You don't.
Especially that was back when you were Division II.
That's right. And he was amazing. And in fact, if he stays healthy, we lost him the next year. We might have won 3 in a row.
Right.
We didn't have him in the 06 year because of a ACL. We didn't have him in the 08 year because of an ACL. And then in the 09 year, when Hepker was gone, you know, we finished in the Final Four in Division I. But that group was just Jacob Neller. You know, when he came in, I told him, I said, you'll never get a play. Of course, he was only about 6'2".
Yeah.
And when he graduated, he was 6'5".
That helps.
And he guarded the toughest player on their team, and he was the worst defender. When he was a freshman, he was awful defender. In fact, we had a drill that you had to get out of the drill. You had to get three stops to get out of the drill.
Right.
It was supposed to be a 10-minute drill. It was a 45-minute drill. He never got out. So anyway, he guarded the best player all the time. And that group, we lost at Park to a team that made a little run maybe in the national tournament, NAI Division I, you know, and we lost at Evangel. And Evangel's always pretty good.
They're always right there.
Yeah, they're always right there. And it's it's a rival game. There's no doubt about that. But then in the national tournament, Mount Vernon almost upset us in the second round, although there was a lot of question marks on their last second shot because I think a Quinn hit it. I think the ball hit the roof, and the kid still almost throws it in. There's 0.6 seconds left. It's a long story.
Wow, I have not seen that.
But and then in the other games we won handily. You know,
I was just actually talking to a guy who was a coach at Indiana Wesleyan back then, a friend of mine, and you were losing that one at halftime, I think.
Oh yeah, we came from behind in every game.
Okay.
And the kids will tell you that Indiana Wesleyan was the best team we played. But in the Indiana Wesleyan game, if you listen to the broadcast, the announcer says, "Man, you didn't realize it, but that's an 18-0 run." So we hung an 18-0 run on them.
Oh wow.
And of course, then I was trying to go through all those guys. You know, you got Danny at the post, you got Cal at the 4 or the 3 or the 2, wherever we had to play him.
Right.
You have Jake at the
Quinn War
3. You have a Quinn War, and you have Hep.
Your best player.
Yeah.
And so, first team All-American, assist leader, 2,000 points, running the show.
Yeah.
So it was like you had a stud everywhere.
They were really good. They were really good. I mean, Danny ended up scoring over 2,000. Cal almost scored 2,000. You know, Adam scored 2,000. Quinn scored 1,000. Neller scored 1,000.
Right.
Ryan Runberg off the bench scored 1,000. Brenton Bell scored 1,000. You know, I can go on and on and on. But then in the title game, we're down 11-0. You know, that's what you saw. And I called the timeout. And I was pretty irate. And Coach Fleming grabbed me. He was on my bench. He grabbed me and said, "Hey, relax. We're going to win this thing."
Yeah.
And so I went.
Well, we went through it. Sorry to interrupt. We went through it a few months ago this summer. And you were getting everything that you wanted, but you missed a couple layups.
Oh.
It should have, it shouldn't have been 11-0.
Yeah,
so
Danny
it was
missed
like
2 from that far.
Right. So you're like, Bill, Coach Fleming was more like, we're getting what we want. It'll start falling. We'll be fine. And he was all over it apparently because you dominated from there.
Well, in fact, after the timeout though, we come out of the timeout and Hepker throws the ball into the scorer's table.
Right. Yeah.
But then I think we ended up tied at half or right close to being tied, and they scored the first basket, and then it was over.
Yeah.
So it was...
Now, in your bio, I always read your bio every year and make updates and all that kind of stuff. It talks about how we'll transition from the national title to your faith background because it says in your bio, all this is great, the wins are great, but what really matters is relationship with Christ. So talk about how that influences your coaching and how that came from. Talk about your faith background.
Well, growing up, in a Nazarene home,
right.
With a Nazarene pastor and a saintly mom.
Right.
You know, my dad was I wasn't able to step off the line at all. I
Right.
mean,
It can go either way. Some kids rebel against that kind of thing.
and I did to begin with.
Yeah.
And in fact, another reason why I went to Dubuque is, I wanted to see what the life was like, and I found out real quickly. And in fact, when I was really, really young, I thought, because we always had missionaries come in and speak, and they always had these unbelievable stories, and I'm sitting there going, man, am I going to end up? I was afraid that I was going to have to be a missionary, Chad, honestly. I thought, oh, man, I'm going to end up.
I have the same story.
And I fought that. I fought it so hard. And so I came to Mid-America, met Joe, and I don't know. I wasn't a Christian when I came, honestly. I mean, I shouldn't. I don't know.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
I wasn't where I belonged spiritually is the best way to put it.
Or it wasn't, for me, I grew up in a Christian home, strict, and I didn't rebel or anything, but I didn't really, it wasn't my own faith, I can say.
That's the best way to put it.
Yeah.
That's the best way to put it.
And then in college, it kind of, with actually Coach Thompson, we talked about him, when he became a Christian in college, I saw the transformation, and I was like, so, I mean, he's doing it more than I'm doing it.
Oh, yeah.
And I've been doing it my whole life. So there's something that's not right here, and I need to figure this out.
Yeah.
And it went from there. But, yeah, it wasn't my own faith at the time, I guess I would say.
Well, and I loved basketball. I loved playing it. I loved everything about it, and always had dreams of playing professionally, and I definitely wanted to coach it. And it would have been in that fall of that sophomore year at Mid-America in a fall revival. It used to be the fall revivals. You'd go to church, in the evenings, and we'd all go.
Right.
And Joe sometimes would drag me, because I'd rather be in the gym or finding a place to play. And I just remember I literally went to the altar, and although I didn't take the basketball with me, I told God, hey, you can have this.
Right.
And when I put it on the altar, the amazing thing was he just picked it up and gave it back to me. And he said, use this.
Yeah.
And so that's what I've been able to do. And I didn't dream when I came back to Mid-America that, okay, who are the people I'm going to reach? Well, it's just going to be the kids on my team, and they hear every day or almost every day, that, hey, we're not accomplishing anything, if we don't get to heaven. And, that's what it's about. But on the other hand, with the camps that I've had, every one of those kids, that they hear the story of Christ. And some of them, all I know is they've heard it once.
Right.
And the thousands there, that the kids that have gone through the camps. And I believe that most of the guys who go through, they know that,
right,
hey, serving Jesus is the most important thing we can do.
So we've talked about your family background quite a bit. What about siblings and stuff like that? What was your family like? And where did you get the name Rocky?
Okay. Well, first of all, I had 3 brothers and a sister.
Where do you rank?
I was 4th.
Okay.
Out of 5. My dad, of course, passed away in '87, the January after I got here. My older brother Clint, who I love dearly, he was the best man at my wedding. He passed away in '88, so I lost him. And
relatively young for both of them, right?
Dad was 61, Clint was 41.
Wow.
And Clint knew he had some heart issues, and but that last year he made the trip to Olathe like 2 or 3 times just to come and see me, and he knew because he'd been sickly for 5-6 years. And then my sister Zandra, she passed away in, I think it was either 91 or 93, and she was 46. She was really young, and she had ended up with a brain tumor.
Wow. What was her name again?
Zandra, Zandra.
That's an unusual name.
Yeah, Zandra Lucille was her name.
Zandra. Where did that come from?
I don't know. I don't know. Well, here's an amazing thing. My mom's name was Dorothy May, and she spelled it M-A-E.
Right.
And she goes, that's the way, it should be spelled. And she goes, that's the way it's on my birth certificate. So Sarah May, my daughter, M-A-E,
Right.
and I got my mom's birth certificate, and it's M-A-Y. So
She's just a liar.
maybe. And then my younger brother, Scott, he passed away in September of 2010 after a lengthy illness. So the only one I have left is my brother Dan, who's just ahead of me. He'll be 70.
Wow, I had no idea that this was your situation.
Yeah,
young people.
Yeah, we were young. And so that's the reason why. I sit here and I think everything's gravy.
Right.
I just can't believe that God's let me stick around this long. Everybody else dies. But wonderful, wonderful childhood.
But Rocky, I guess, is stubbornness. So maybe you're stubborn that you're just hanging on. Is that what that is?
Well, my mom says I was the saint, so anyway, I was a good one. But so Rocky, how did I get? My name is John Ray, Jonray, which my
should have been RAE, right?
I don't know what's wrong with it. My sister named me. I was the fourth one, and she wanted it to be pronounced Jean. I don't. I've heard all this stuff from her.
Okay.
But anyway, it was John Ray. But my uncle, and I don't know which one it was, came in to visit Mom and me at the hospital when I was born. And he came up and he grabbed my arm and just squeezed it. And he goes, he's as solid as a rock.
There you go.
Rocky. So now we moved to Washington, Iowa when I was in 3rd and 4th grade. Those guys don't know a Rocky Lamar.
Yeah.
I said, when I got there, I said, no, I'm going to be Ray. So for 2 years, I was Ray Lamar.
Ray Lamar, nice. I like it.
Yeah. So anyway, that's fun.
And what about your family now? How'd you meet Joe? And then talk about your kids.
Okay. I met Joe. Maybe it was the first. I went to a freshman frolic thing. I was a sophomore.
Right.
But I didn't know anybody here, So I go, I'm going to go to that. And I met Joe there at the freshman frolic thing. Afterwards, there was a guy. The thing was over, and a guy's playing a guitar, and Joe is in amongst her girlfriends or people. I don't know if they were girlfriends or not. And she goes, "Look at that guy. He likes to be the center of attention." That's what my wife said. And so I heard it, and I busted into her circle, wrapped my arms around her, and said, "I like to be the center of attention too. Let's go on a date." And she goes, "Okay, I'm going to go down to the dorm and
call the police.
Go down to the dorm and get comfortable so we can go back." And she never came back. So I chased her around for 2 weeks. Wherever she went, I went. And anyway, finally caught her, and we got married a year later.
Right. Well, and that's what my next question. What was she thinking? Like, I know how you see someone that you're like, oh, I'm going after that, and she's like, yeah. Well, how did you pull that off?
She literally, Terry Boring was maybe her roommate or a friend from Wichita, and every place Joe went. I mean, the library was in Lund,
okay,
and they had little carousels, where you could study.
No, I don't know anything about that.
Well, anyway, they had these things up and walls up, and I'd go in there, and she'd be in there, and I'd peek my head over. Hey, how you doing? I literally chased her for 2 weeks, and Terry kept telling her, "Hey, give this guy a chance,"
Right.
And she goes, "Oh, he's just there's something wrong with that guy." Well,
she was right.
Anyway, yeah, it definitely was right, and then we started dating a little bit, and she goes, "Man, your clothes are always all wrinkly and stuff." I said, "Well, that's what they're like when they come out of the washer." And she goes, "Well, here, let me." So she started doing my laundry.
Wow.
I go, "Ooh,
yeah.
This is good."
Just get on one knee immediately. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, she is, and of course, I think she's a saint.
Right.
And all the players, they call her Joe Mama for a reason.
Right. And it's been that way since I can remember. I've been here. Yeah.
Yeah. She takes such good care of them. And like now during COVID, usually after every game, they come to my home or we go somewhere and watch film.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we haven't been able to do that this year. So now, if you'll check it out, I bring a picnic basket full of Joe Mama goodies for the guys after the games. She's always
right, cookies and whatnot. Yeah,
yeah, trying to take care of them. My son, Charles Michael, is named after Chuck Nunemaker.
Okay,
and Mike Satchel. Mike Satchel was my best friend in high school, so I named him Charles Michael. And Chaz, he felt like basketball took me away from him.
Okay.
So there's no doubt about that. And so he's got a little bit of bitterness there, honestly. But we're getting through that, and he realizes that I love him more than I love basketball.
How old is he?
He is 40. He was born in 77, so
That's
he's
when
40.
I was born. I'm 43.
43. And he married Jamie in 2004, and they had Jared in 2009, and Jana in 2012, and Jonas in 2015. So I have 3 grandbabies.
Okay.
Which is where my wife is at right now, by the way, because Chaz is in Wichita. He works for Coke Industries there.
Okay.
And so, they're the joy of our lives, of course, our grandchildren are. And Chaz has been with Coke Industries and is doing very, very well. A very intelligent young man, serving Jesus. He goes. I can never remember the name of the church. They're in Valley Center. I mean, we go when we're there, but now with all the COVID going on. But
was he ever into basketball, or was it always a resentful thing?
Well, he went out as a sophomore at Olathe East, made the team, and he goes, "Dad, I told you I can make the team." And Chaz could shoot a little bit and was always strong,
right?
Big strong kid. And I went to his first 2 or 3 games. Didn't get to play a whole lot, but he got in every game, and I went to the first 2 or 3 games. And then, like on his 4th game or his 5th game, we had a game. And so I was out of town.
Right.
I came back, he'd quit. He said, "If you're not going to be at my games, I'm not going to play." So anyway, but we've gotten over that, And
yeah, I mean, that's a lot of things, a lot of issues with longtime coaches is that time away, and it's hard to balance that.
It is. It is.
I don't know. I mean,
well, Chad, I think part of it, is now my daughter will tell you that I'm perfect, honestly, and I'm not, and I keep telling her I'm not perfect, but the bad thing was I still loved to play, and I had him so young that I would take him to the gym, and I never could get him to play, but I would end up playing,
right,
and so he didn't play with me, I couldn't get him to play, and so and now my daughter, on the other hand, she tried to pitch softball, and I would get in the backyard and catch her all the time, and I coached her softball teams, and she is, of course, she's been all over the place. First of all, you've heard her sing.
Yes.
I mean, her voice is.
She does the national anthem on occasion.
Yes, and I think you even have a recording of that. You could pop in anytime, and one time you popped it in, and I didn't know you were, and so I go, "Whoa!" But she can really, really sing. But her gift is she's a teacher of theater, and she's phenomenal. Every place she's gone. Well, she first of all tried to sing professionally, and she did a very good job at that. She was in Aspen, Colorado, was her first gig, I think. She'll tell you that, and she sang professionally there for a year. And then she was hired at the New Dinner Theater and was working here in Kansas City, and then ran into some problems with her marriage, and she tried to save that. She said, "I'm away too much," and that didn't work out. But she said, "I'm going to get a teaching job," and so she went to work at Wyandotte High School here, and the first time I saw her kids perform, I thought, "Oh my goodness, this is not. She's not doing anything right here. Something's wrong." Well, lo and behold, that first group, 2 or 3 of them ended up being, they went to college on theater or music scholarships. I can't remember. And then she ended up at Gardner High School, and she did a performance out there of Grease, which was unreal. And then she goes, "Okay, I'm going to try to do." She tried to make a dinner theater on her own, which she couldn't get that done. Then she started teaching at Fort Scott Community College and built a program from nothing. And then while she's at Fort Scott, she comes home one summer. She's always coming home. And she came home. She was there 2 years. She comes home one summer, and she sees that Frontier Trail, where she went to junior high school, was losing their theater teacher. And she goes, she just put her name in, and that was 6 years ago. And I mean, she is touching so many lives, and she does such a great job.
Nice.
I think she's phenomenal.
So,
and I didn't forget Chaz. I think I said he married Jamie, and Jamie's a wonderful. I wanted to make sure that, she's doing such a great job raising our grandbabies. We're so proud of them. So anyway,
So obviously your coaching life is pretty much all consuming. What do you do outside of MNU? It's the same answer I get. It's like, what do you mean? There's other than your family. There's nothing else to do around. I mean,
well, I think the only thing my hobby is golf.
yeah.
I do golf, and I get in trouble with that once in a while. Todd probably says, "What are you doing?" But anyway, I do golf, and that's, I'm trying to get my grandkids to pick that up a little bit. I don't think I'll ever get any of them to do it, but I do enjoy golfing. I do enjoy time away with Joe. We're going to someday get in an RV and just go and see all the parks together. We love to travel, and so she loves the beach. I'm not a beach guy, so I'll take her to the beach and let her be in the sand while I go hit a golf ball.
Right.
So, but I think just getting to spend time with her is what I look forward to the most when I'm not in the basketball season.
All right. Let's go through this season's games. We've touched on it a little bit. We started with what are usually those 3 cupcake games, right? Where you get to score 150 and everyone gets to score 20. But it didn't work out that way this year. And you had to get a last-second shot to beat Ecclesia, who was actually pretty good. As it turns out, these aren't cupcake games anymore. Talk about those early games and how that went, because we were missing some guys. Right?
Yeah, well, we missed Cam Brady. We didn't have Cam Brady in the first 3 games. And to be honest, Cam, he
brings a different dimension for sure.
He surely does. I mean, he can shoot it, and he's rebounding like crazy, and such a great competitor. And he is working on getting better defensively. Although, to be honest, Chad, you'd probably get 20 on him. Don't tell him I said it. Not anymore. But we didn't have him those first 3 games, and we were trying to learn. And honestly, Jake Alexander was having to play way out of position. He was playing the 4, which he doesn't belong there. And so here we are trying to piece things together. And Ecclesia was bigger than us.
Right.
They were gigantic. And everybody else who plays them, though, kicks them. And what's really strange is I think Kansas Christian was the first one, and I think we beat them by 20 or something like that. I can't remember the score exactly.
29, I'm looking
29. And, I mean, they had almost beaten us the year before.
Right.
They always give us a good game, and they're very, very athletic and quick, and just weren't very big. And then I think we played Baptist Bible. That score I think ended up being
107-94. That was a track meet.
107-94, but it really was the spread was much greater than that.
Yeah,
they brought it back at the end, and so those first 3 games, I thought, okay, we've learned a lot from it, but it's still we didn't have Pedro and Cam together.
Right.
And
so the next 4 games were conference losses: at Evangel, home versus CMU, at Benedictine, and home versus Park.
Okay, so
and it was like, is this what this team is going to be this year? Looking at it from where I sit, it was like, this is uninspiring. They're not coming back. The like you said, Jake Alexander, who had an interesting freshman year, right? He would come in and get offensive rebounds and be a spark plug type. He hadn't found his footing at all yet, it seemed like. And then Anthony Brown, who had such a huge freshman year. I should get the camera on me here. He wasn't getting his numbers like he did his freshman year either. It was teams were obviously keying on him. You also had basically you had 2 point guards with Spellman and Trey Brown, and it was trying to figure out that dynamic. It seemed like, how are we going to do this? Is who's the 1 and who's the 2? Who's going to be, that kind of thing. Plus, all the positions are fluid now anyway, so it seemed like you were trying to figure that out, and nothing really worked. And then you beat Missouri Valley, like absolutely destroyed them.
Okay.
And then you've got 2 more losses after that.
Okay.
So go through that little stretch there where that's...
Well, the first 4 games that you're talking about.
1-6 there.
Cam came back. His first game back was at Evangel.
Okay.
And when he came back, Pedro went on.
Right.
Pedro was COVID. So we didn't have Pedro for those 4 games, okay, for any of them.
Right.
And to be honest, Central Methodist, we let that one get away. But the other teams, we couldn't have beat them. You know, we would have.
And those are good teams. Benedictine and Park are just good anyway.
Yeah, we'd have had to play special to beat them. And Evangel during that stretch, I mean, Evangel went to Benedictine and won.
Yeah.
So Evangel was playing very, very well then too, and Central Methodist was playing very well then, and Central Methodist was also playing without people. So anyway, we go 0-4, and I tell Joe, I said, well, it's going to be a long year.
Yeah.
But then the Missouri Valley game, we have Pedro back, and now all of a sudden we're able to run Pedro and Cam together, and that makes us a much different team.
It seemed like, that game, something clicked.
Yeah,
it seemed to anyway, but then the next two losses.
Right. So in that game, we ran, you know, and that was very important. You know, we got out and we ran, and that always makes us better. And so then we go to Peru, and at Peru with 36 seconds left, I'm going to put this in there. Probably going to get in trouble with it.
It's fine. I've got a counter argument. Go ahead.
Okay, with 36 seconds left, Blake shoots a layup, and there is no. There's no doubt it's goaltending, which puts us up one. Would have put us up one. Instead, we have to foul. They hit both free throws. We do miss a wide open three. That would have tied it. So, I mean, all that stuff.
Had your chance.
But we wouldn't have had to do any of that. If we score it, so
that could have been a win for sure.
That could have been.
But this is a team that is now clicking and scoring 100 points a game. You got 59 that game.
Yeah. Oh, there's no, and we were still learning.
Right.
We're learning, and maybe Trey and Blake were learning how to play together.
Right.
You know, and we may have been saying, okay, hey, let's make Trey run the point exclusively, which I think we were doing at that time, and Blake running the off. Well, Blake ends up going in the corner and standing, you know, instead of being involved. And so then I said, well, okay, Blake, man, push the ball up the floor, you know. Mm-hmm. And so at Park, by the way, they're really good.
Sure,
and always really good. And that game we just didn't play very well. You know, we were still learning then, and had all kinds of issues with them. I think we were down pretty big at half. And it was at that game, after the game, where we met in the locker room, and Trey goes, you know, it was about this time a year ago, Coach, where we decided to hang our hat on something. And he goes, let's start guarding. Let's change. And so we switched up how we were guarding. And all of a sudden we started guarding a little bit differently. And, you know, all the coaches know, you know, but we switched up guarding a little bit differently.
And is that something you can share, or is that like an inside secret?
No.
Like,
we started icing ball screens,
okay,
which John says you should do all the time anyway. You know, we were hard hedging and said, so we just started icing ball screens, which means we force them away.
What does that mean?
That means we force them away from the screen. And so that means
I hear guys yelling ice, ice, ice when they come up to a screen.
Yep.
So the guy who is getting screened, what is his job?
His job is to force the ball handler away from the screen. So you get up on top of the screen and force him away from it. Usually it's toward the baseline. Okay. That means the big has to be there. So if you play against a team that is a pick and pop big, they can sometimes hurt you with that. Because they'll just, then you got a little on them.
But you're also big. Your bigs have to defend that guard.
They do.
And you've got Pedro and Cam for that, which is a nice matchup. Well, it seems.
Yeah, because Pedro and Cam are,
yes,
they can guard people.
Right.
Well, they can attempt to guard people. They have a better chance of guarding a little than most of our bigs in the past. And so anyway, we started icing them. And then I think we go on a 5-game winning streak there.
Central Methodist, Baker, Evangel, and Clark and Valley.
And I don't think any of those did we score big. I mean, it was
in the 70s, basically.
In the 70s, yeah. And we were holding them, you know, decent amount.
Yeah, only Clark scored 70, so it was 55, 66, 60, 65.
Yeah, but still, during that time, Chad, we weren't Mid-America. And I kept telling them that over and over again. I said, we're not running.
Right.
We're still not running.
And I was going to get on that next, the style of the offense. Go ahead.
Yeah, and then we go to William Penn, and, oh, man.
Get throttled.
Yeah, well, we have not played well at William Penn yet.
113 to 78. That's a tough one.
Yeah, that's a tough one. And of course,
but they're legit too.
They're legit. I think they're the best team in the country. And you know, year in year out, they're going to be the best team in the country because they go out and get Division I players who are really, really good. And we struggle with them sometimes. And so anyway, And then we come back and we play Benedictine. You know, we just gotten it handed to us, and against
Benedictine played a really nice game. I remember
they were so good. And sometimes you have problems, you know,
right.
And we couldn't guard them, you know, and we didn't play particularly well. We didn't run, you know. They tried to stop us, etc. So now all of a sudden, here we are. We must have been. We had 8 losses, so we were 6-8 in the league, I think.
Right.
And
the top 4 teams from each division make the tournament.
Yes. And we're at that time 5th in the South. And so something's got to change. And in fact, Culver comes in, and at halftime, I believe we're either down 1 or up 1, like it's 41-39 or something like that. And I don't know if we're ahead or behind. I can't remember.
Well, let me look. I got the world's worth of information at my fingertips, but my computer's going really slowly. So
Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, anyway.
It was close at halftime.
And in the second half, it was put on your jets because we're going to run. And
40-39, Culver led at halftime.
And I think we scored 56.
56. The 30 was the second half.
Yeah, and I came into the locker room afterwards and I said, that's the way Mid-America plays. You've got to run. And so
Spellman had 23. Anthony Brown had 23. The rest of the starters had double digits.
Yeah,
that kind of thing.
You know, and we shot the ball better. Yep. But you're going to shoot the ball better when you run because all of a sudden you have a little bit of a lead, and the hoop, for some reason, when you're ahead, gets bigger.
Right.
You know, nobody believes that, but it really does. I mean, it goes from 18 inches to 26.
Sure.
Which isn't quite true, but and then the very next game we play, I think, at Baker. And,
yes.
And
took it to him again.
Once again, I think we scored 99 there.
Yep.
And it was a track meet, you know, and then Mount Mercy comes in and they run anyway. They try to run.
Right. That's a team that likes to be in the 90s.
Yeah, they love to run, and they're going to score in the 90s usually. And so, you know, we score 104, you know, and we haven't, in the last few years, we haven't scored 100 a lot of times in the league.
No.
You know, usually it's they battle you. And then, of course, Graceland they're struggling. I think they're talented, but they're struggling a little bit, and that was a night where we just
right.
Cam Brady. I mean, Jake, first of all,
right,
goes 12 for 14.
Have you seen anyone make 12 shots in a row in a game?
Adam Oots.
Really?
Adam Oots, in his last game at Mid-America in the Cook Center, went 10 for 10.
Any threes, though?
Yeah, 2.
Okay.
He went 10 for 10, which means he scored 22 there.
Right.
And he went 10 for 10 from the line, so he scored 32.
Wow.
So, but Jake going 12 for 14, you know, and then it's just throw him the ball.
Right.
That's
I noticed that you do that when you've got a hot player. You don't hesitate to scrap the offense and just say, give him the ball, screen for him, and let him shoot until he's cold again or whatever.
Yeah, we're
until
not
they make an adjustment.
Yeah.
You're not too proud to get rid of your offense, basically, is how that goes.
No. And, well, one thing this team's able to do is we've done a whole lot more. And our sets now are like bulldog and spread, which are basically they're just ball screens.
Right.
And I've never been a great ball screen guy, you know. Usually we're on sets and we're trying to set stagger doubles and, you know, hitting a guy with a flare and trying to get him open, you know. But Blake and Trey are really good off of screens. Mm-hmm. So why not use that? And so now the bad thing is here we score 108 a week ago today. And we haven't played.
Right.
But that's because of COVID, which I didn't mention. Our COVID year, we end February 6th. You know, we were supposed to be done Saturday. And everybody else in the league had games beyond that because somehow, some way, they weren't able to play, which I don't understand. You know, I think you should be able to play the games if you've got enough bodies. That's what we did.
Right.
And so, and if that's the case, so be it.
Right.
You know. And so, anyway.
So the game has changed since the 80s and 90s, obviously. It seems like the Golden State Warriors seem to have ushered in this new era of bombs away. Yeah. And the analytics have shown that a three-pointer is way more efficient and all this kind of stuff. How do you take what you used to do? Because when I got here, I knew all the plays sitting on the table because you'd yell them out. You were running me and Fish and golden
And Spartan
and zone. And, I kind of started to learn the plays just from sitting there. Now you don't call any plays really, maybe a handful a game at most. And it's spread the floor. You've got Patrick Cairns who can shoot it, who's really tall. What is he, 6'7" or something?
Yeah.
And
see, that's
the kind of where the game is now. Everybody can shoot, so you spread them all out and shoot it. My question is that as fun for you as a coach to just say line up and shoot threes? Or is it more fun to be tactical and work it and get the twos and stuff like that? Or do you care? Is it a win is a win and I don't care?
Well, first of all, sometimes you can win and lose. If you're, I don't know if that makes any sense, but
if you win, but it costs too much.
Yeah, I mean, if you're sitting there and all of a sudden you're not guarding, but you're just beating them because you can outscore them,
right.
And I think you've really got to work on the defensive end of the floor. And hey, a big issue for this team has been rebounding. If you check it out early, we were getting out rebounded by everybody. And all of a sudden, these last few games, we're rebounding the ball. And a big addition to that is Patrick Cairns.
Yeah, he's been getting his 10 no matter when he comes in.
Yeah, he's going to get 10 rebounds. And that's really important to us. And then everything else that he does is gravy, And Pat can get it and hit them all. He's just like Jake hit them all the other night. Well, Patrick can hit them all when he gets it going. And, of course, Anthony, when people talk about, well, Anthony's not having the year he had a year ago. Well, go look at the stats.
At the beginning, he wasn't.
Right.
I think now he is.
Yeah, well, and if you look at the overall stats, just look at the stats, and the kid shoots 40% from three, and he shoots about 48% overall, and he's shooting better from the free throw line than he did a year ago. He has more steals than he had a year ago. He has more rebounds.
He guards tough, I notice.
I'm putting him up.
He really likes it.
I'm putting him up for Defensive Player of the Year. We put him on their best player.
Yeah.
On purpose.
And he doesn't get 4 fouls and all that.
No.
He's working it.
No, and so anyway, we're very, very proud of Anthony. And of course, the way they do all conference selections is, I'm working on that now because our season's over, so I might as well work on it. Well, we had to put up everybody, which I think is crazy, because you vote for 25 people, and the top 10 are first team, the second 10 are second team, and I'm going, no, I'm putting guys up that I think should be second team guys, but you had to put them up because you only get to put them up once.
Right.
Well, that's crazy. But anyway, sorry, got off on my little.
No, you're good. But yeah, talk about how did that transition come about? Because I've talked to Nate Launis, your assistant, a little bit about. Yeah, we worked through the breakdowns in the analytics, and it's a different game now. So the efficiency of a 3-pointer, which is 50%, it's easy math, but it's 50% more valuable than the 2-pointer. So if you shoot even, what is it? What's the
well, it's 33%.
You have to shoot 33% to make it worth it.
Yeah.
And so is that all it takes to convince you to kind of bail on more of a rugged style of basketball and a more free-flowing, or how did that evolution come about? Because you've liked to,
I want the ball to go inside and I want to run.
Rebound and run and go to Pedro. And
yep.
And if you can do that, you'll win anyway. But if that shuts down, then what do you have to do?
Well, then you work. Then we do shoot the three. There's no doubt we shoot the three.
Right.
But
everybody seems to.
We design ways to get hopefully our best shooters. We want our highest percentage shooters to take the most shots. So we want Anthony and Blake to shoot more threes than anybody else does. Mm-hmm. They're our highest percentage 3-point shooters. We want Pedro and Cam to get the ball most inside. They're shooting 60% from the floor, approximately, a little bit lower than that. So the last 4 games, that's what's been going on, and of course, and Jake blowing up. But
and obviously Trey can bomb it from anywhere as well. So he's a threat as well.
Well, Trey is so good at knowing when, hey, I need to shoot the ball.
Right.
And the kid's got 150 assists. 150 assists and 48 turnovers. That's pretty good.
Yep.
And Blake's got just the same at a little bit lower. I think they're both almost 3-to-1 assist to turnover.
Yeah.
And so when you have that, all of a sudden, if you ever go into our locker room before the game, I don't know if you ever have, but you'll always see defend, rebound, value the ball. That's the most important thing we talk about, and in that order. So that we feel like if we defend, we're always going to have a chance. And then you got to rebound the ball. Well, we didn't rebound the ball early.
Right.
And one thing this team has done great all year is value it. And so as long as we're doing those three things, we feel like we can compete with anyone. Going to be really tough to compete, honestly. Penn and Park and Benedictine have separated themselves. They're really good, and so we'll have to play really, if we get a chance to play them again, which I don't know what's going to happen with the tournament, but anyway, sorry. Jumping off the page there.
So a big question that people have is the future of this program. You're not going to coach forever, even though we'd like you to. So what does the future, what do you see as the future of this program? And are you willing to expound on that and answer directly or anything like that?
No,
of course not.
No, I mean that's crazy. I think this program is in very good hands. That's what I think. I think that I love Mid-America basketball.
Yes,
I've put my life into it, and I am going to do whatever is best for Mid-America basketball for the remainder of my time here and beyond.
Perfect answer. All right, let's close with I've been asking all the coaches and administrators this. This year has been insane, right? 2020 with COVID and the riots and all that kind of stuff. So as we've begun this year, it's kind of calmed down a little bit in the last month, but all the social unrest, Black Lives Matter protests, you are coaching a sport that is plenty diverse. You've got Brazilians, you've got white kids, black kids from all different socioeconomic backgrounds, all different histories. You've got 15 guys who are 15 different types of people, and you've got to get them towards the same goal. So our country is kind of like that. We're splintered all over the place. We need to come together for the same goal. Have you had any issues with racial tensions on your team, even in the past or now or whatever? And how has it been going? Have there been discussions? Or is it just? Yeah, I'll let you answer that.
None.
Yeah,
none. I'm a firm believer in. I'm going to bring in the best kids to fit into our program, the best players I can bring in. And then sometimes I make mistakes, and the kids I bring in aren't as good as I thought they were, or the kids that I bring in are better than I thought they were, and we are going to play the best players.
Mm-hmm.
And that has nothing to do with the color of their skin, where they're from, their culture. We're going to play the best players as long as they accept what Mid-America is all about.
Right.
I mean,
fit-wise.
Yeah, and by the way, that over the year, my 35 years, that's changed at Mid-America. I mean, honestly, the way the Nazarene denomination is headed, it's no longer where the externals are the most important part. It's your serving Christ, what's inside. And so, I mean, for example, the ring that I wear, the wedding ring that I wear, I don't know how old this one is, but when I got a wedding ring when I got married, my parents were really mad with me.
Because you were wearing jewelry?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know that.
Well, and the other thing, believe it or not, my parents were not going to let me play basketball because I had to wear shorts.
Wow.
And in fact, if Coach Fleming wouldn't have come on the scene, my parents would have made me play in sweatpants. So, anyway.
Well, I know that there was a school where I was from. Oh, I can't remember what the denomination was. Is it Episcopalian? Who the boys wore long pants to basketball and T-shirts that covered your shoulders.
Yeah.
And the girls' teams, they had like long culottes or dresses and stuff like that. I don't remember what the denomination was. So it was kind of like that for back in the day.
Yeah, that's the way we were headed until this is a kind of funny story. I mean, I think it'll be all right. So, Coach Fleming, see, my mom and dad never said anything through 8th grade because we never played interscholastically at Macokota. I mean, till you were in 9th grade. So all of like in 8th grade, we'd play against the 7th graders or we'd play against the 9th graders. We would not play interscholastically. I don't know why.
Okay.
And so we're coming into my 9th grade year, and Coach Fleming was my math teacher. And I told him, hey, my mom's coming. And he goes, okay. So Mom came down the hall because she was going to tell him that, hey, he is not going to wear shorts.
Had you ever worn shorts?
Well, I got to wear shorts in PE classes, but it was no females.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, if the females are getting a look at your upper thighs, then it's over. So
Yeah.
they can't be.
Yeah, so that was it. So anyway, anything above the knee. But anyway, Mom, Coach Fleming tells it great. Of course, he can't tell anymore, but he looks out and she's coming down the hall, and she's making a beeline for his.
And he knows what's coming?
Yeah, because I've warned him.
Okay.
Because I spent as much time as I could with Coach Fleming, just because I love basketball. And she comes in and she goes, I want you to know. And Coach Fleming goes, hold on a second. He goes, Mrs. Lamar, I was in Rock's PE class yesterday, and I saw him in shorts. He goes, I don't blame you. There is no way I would let a kid like that be in public with legs that look like that.
That's awesome.
And my mom goes, he's going to be out for the basketball team, and he's going to be in shorts. So it worked.
That's perfect.
It worked. So
That's
anyway,
genius.
It's funny.
Yeah. All right. So, well, I guess last question. How does the country... You have been an expert at bringing different people from different cultures together and playing for the same goal. What's the answer for the United States of America? You are in charge of fixing it. What are you doing? That's about right. That's about the right answer. I don't know.
I think we find someone whose entire goal is to heal our land, period. Put all other things aside.
Yeah.
You've got to be willing to reach across the table. You've got to be willing to talk with everybody and do it with charitable discourse.
It seems like that's impossible at the moment, doesn't it?
It does. But there's somebody out there, and although it has calmed down, you know, and I just think I pray for my country. It's still the greatest country in the world. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. And I pray for my country. I pray for my school. I pray for my team. I pray for my family. But that's all we can do.
Sounds good. Thanks for joining us. Episode 10 of Inside MNU Athletics. Thanks a lot, Rocky Lamar.